Start. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Asmadgurubhyo Namaha. Shruti Smriti Puranaanam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavadpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badharayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritam Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Shri Medha Dakshinamurti Swamine Namaha Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Namaste to everybody. So, with the blessings of Veda Dakshinamurti and all the Guru Parampara and my own Gurujis, Swami Dayanand Saraswati and all, we have been able to successfully complete a few texts starting from Tattva Bodha, Sadhana Panchakam, and also Kathopanishad. Kathopanishad, at one point it seemed as if we will not be able to complete it, but I think we are blessed with the grace of the Gurus and also Ishvara, and we were able to complete it in the last class. And let us all invoke the same grace of Veda Dakshinamurti and all the Gurus for us to start this new text, Atma Bodha, so that we are able to successfully pursue this text, learn this text, and also complete this text as our sankalpa is. So with these words, let us start the introduction to the text. As you all know, Atma Bodha is a text which is supposed to be written by Adi Shankaracharya. I am saying supposed to be because even though there are some indications of Adi Shankaracharya's style of writing, there are certain things which are missing also from his style of writing. So that is why, but then generally, unlike Tattva Bodha, Atma Bodha is believed to be and understood to be written by Adi Shankaracharya. Because if you compare it with Viveka Chudamani, the style of presentation, the topics which are covered are more or less, the same. And of course, this Atma Bodha, like Tattva Bodha, is also a Prakarana Grantha. Prakarana Grantha basically is an introductory or an auxiliary text or any supporting text written by any Acharya for understanding the main source of the Vedanta, that is the Upanishads. What is conveyed, what are the messages conveyed in the Upanishad, for us to easily understand in sort of a layman terms, you can call it. These Prakarana Granthas have been written, and there are so many Prakarana Granthas, right? So Vedanta, the Upanishads are the Moola Granthas, and this texts like Tattva Bodha, Atma Bodha, Viveka Chudamani to some extent are all called Prakarana Granthas. And we know that the author of the Vedanta or the Upanishads is unknown. And all of us take it that the author of the Upanishads, and for that matter, the entire Vedas, is Parameshwara, Lord Ishvara himself. At the beginning of creation, these Vedas were given to the humanity. So we don't know its timeline also. So that's why we say that Vedas have existed from beginningless times rather. Because we don't know when the creation started. Anadi, it is Anadi rather, without any beginning. So these Vedas are also beginningless. We don't know when it's all started. And that because when the creation started, there were no human beings. But the Vedas came into being. So that is why we give the credit for the Vedas, the composition of the Vedas, to the creator himself, Ishvara. That is why they are called Apaurusheya Granthas, right? The one which are not done by men, human beings. Human intellect is not involved. It is the divine intellect which is involved in the composition of the Vedas. So it is Purusha Buddhi Janyam Na, not the product or given birth to. Janyam Na means not. Purusha Buddhi, the human intellect. So it has not been given birth to by a human intellect. So that is what it is. This Prakarana, and these Prakarana Granthas are all Paurusheya Granthas. They are all works of human intellect only. And the whole idea of the Acharyas writing these Prakarana Granthas, as I told you, is mainly to simplify the messages which is there in the Vedas and Upanishads and present them in a language which is easy to understand for all of us. And every Acharya follows their own style of presentation. And these Prakarana Granthas actually are twofold. So that is why to call it an introductory text may not be a very right definition. An auxiliary text may be a better word to use for Prakarana Grantha. And I'll tell you why. Because some of these are introductory Granthas and which are studied before studying the Upanishads and even Bhagavad Gita and all that. Right? Any Vedanta text, if you want to study, before that introductory text, these Prakarana Granthas are studied. And the examples are Tattva Bodha, Atma Bodha, and as I told you, Viveka Chudamani. There are other texts like Raghu Vasudeva Mananam, Atma Anatma Viveka. So many texts are there, Prakarana Granthas, written by various Acharyas. And these texts, they cover the entire subject matter of Vedanta in a very, very simple manner. They avoid elaborate arguments. Because as we have seen, in Kathopanishad, there is this Purva Pakshi business always comes in rather. Whenever a point is made by Vedanta, immediately an objection will be raised by some people. Because they don't agree to what the Vedanta is saying. So then one has to go into an argument, into a debate in order to establish what the Vedanta is saying is right, and also to establish or to dismiss the contention of these Purva Pakshis. But these Prakarana Granthas don't go do all those things. They don't go into any elaborate arguments and all that. So there are no Purva Pakshis involved. Also, many times for Advaita Vedanta, the opposition comes from other philosophies like Dvaita, Visishta, Dvaita, and all that. And that is what is the subject matter of all those debates. Mostly we have seen, even in those times when Adi Shankara was there, one of the most important debate was this karma jnana samuchaya. So whether you have to pursue jnanam to the exclusion of karmas, or whether jnanam can be pursued along with karmas, this was the debate there. So most people believed that karma has to be pursued along with jnanam. Karma cannot be done away with. And Adi Shankaracharya's argument was karma is antithesis to jnana. Because when you say aham brahmasmi, you are taking yourself to be a akarta abhokta. Whereas if you are a karmi, if you are going to perform karmas, then you are taking yourself to be a karta and bhokta. So on the one side karta bhokta and on the other side akarta abhokta means they are conflicting. So Adi Shankara, his matam was karma, when you come to jnanam, you should give up karmas. Then the question was that why, how can we give up karmas? Because we have taken up the karmas after proper initiation into the Veda mantras. So he says, take up sannyasa. So that is how Adi Shankara justified that for Jnana Yoga, when you come to Jnanam, when you come to Vedanta, the best ashram is sannyasa ashram. That is how his argument was. Anyhow, these are all, I'm just trying to recollect some of the background that we have all seen in all these classes in the last 1.5 years, so that you are getting ready for Atma Bodha, Atma Bodha topic rather, right? So this is the simple presentation of these introductory texts which are called Prakarana Granthas. Then there are other set of Prakarana Granthas which come after the study of the Upanishads and which are supposed to stabilize the this what is that Upanishadic teachings, and therefore those granthas, they involve lot of arguments, dismissal of the contradictory views, contradictory Advaita Vedanta and all that. And the other systems of philosophy like Sankhya, Nyaya, Vaiseshika, all their arguments are taken up in those granthas, and they are all dealt with in detail, analyzed both from the point of view of the Shastras as well as logic, and then they are all dismissed. So those granthas which come after the study of the Upanishads, they are mainly meant for mananam, because in mananam stage only you can get all these doubts resolved. Because as long as you are doing shravanam, the doubts will keep occurring in your mind, because you read so many things, you listen to so many people. Even in today's times, there are so many people will give so many different versions, and they will all be so convincing that a person who doesn't have any background will have total confusion. Which is the right thing? Is Advaitam the right thing? Or Dvaitam the right thing? Or what the Vishishta Advaitins say is right thing? Was Adi Shankaracharya right? Was Ramanujacharya right? Was Madhvacharya right? Because everybody has got their own followers. Now it depends upon you as an individual. When you are looking at different philosophies, different way of presenting the same thing, you have to get convinced. Your intellect has to get convinced which is the right thing, and for that you require to know everything which is there, all the various possibilities of interpretation. And those Prakarana Granthas which come after the study of the Upanishads, they serve this purpose. So they mainly for Mananam, so that once you go through those Granthas, then all your doubts about other philosophies, other beliefs and all that, they will be set at right. And then all that will be, remaining is only one obstacle of Viparyaya or Viparita Bhavana, which you will have to do Nididhyasanam for that. So when we are talking about Shravanam, we are talking about getting the knowledge, raw knowledge, doubtful knowledge, knowledge which is ridden with lot of doubts. Then when we come to Mananam stage, these granthas, which I am talking about now, they help us in actually clarifying the doubts. And in fact, one of those granthas, even Brahma Sutra, can be actually classified, because in Brahma Sutra, this is what the whole Brahma Sutra is about. Arguments, counter arguments, pick up the weaknesses of all other arguments, and destroy them. In fact, if you read Brahma Sutra, it will be just like a two very senior advocates arguing in the Supreme Court on matters of fact and matters of law. That is what Brahma Sutra is. It's a very high level kind of a thing, right? So this is what is the two types of Prakarana Granthas. And the second type, after a very well argued process, the other philosophies other than Advaita, they are all dismissed as having some weakness or the other, or they being self-contradictory in what they are saying. All these things Adi Shankara points out. In fact, Brahma Sutra Bhashyam, if you read, he points out all these things, how other philosophies, they are confused. They take one point at they take one stand at one particular point in time, but later on, what they say contradicts what they are saying in the previous this thing. So all these things he points out, and that is why they are all called Siddhi Granthas. Those Granthas which come after the study of the Upanishads, they are called Nyaya Granthas or Siddhi Granthas, and there are various of them like Ishta Siddhi is there, Advaita Siddhi, Brahma Siddhi. There are so many Siddhi Granthas are there. So they are called Siddhi Granthas. So these are the two types of Prakarana Granthas. Luckily for us, we are still in the Shravanam stage and trying to understand what the Upanishads are trying to say. So we are on the first type of Prakarana Granthas, which are the introductory Granthas, right? And this Atma Bodha also happens to be one of the first types, which is the introductory text, rather, auxiliary text, we can call it rather. But this Atma Bodha is little more advanced than Tattva Bodha. That is why people study Atma Bodha after they have studied Tattva Bodha. But Tattva Bodha is the alphabet of Vedanta. Basically, you have to know the alphabets of Vedanta. You have to know the terminology of Vedanta. Without that, you cannot go forward at all, right? Any discipline, you want to do medicine, you have to learn the terminology which is used in the medicine profession. Similarly, engineering, any profession, legal profession, you have to know the terminologies which are used. Similarly, when you come to Vedanta, you should understand, it will talk about Atma, Anatma, Viraga, then Sadhana Chatushtayam, so many things will be talked about. What are they? So all the terminologies plus what they represent, what are the meanings and all that, Tattva Bodha is very, very excellent text, rather the best text for that. Whoever wrote it, they have done a great service for Vedanta. Right? So that is Tattva Bodha. Atma Bodha is little more advanced. Atma Bodha here, Adi Shankara assumes that you have actually studied Tattva Bodha. If you have not studied Tattva Bodha, many aspects what is talked about or discussed in Atma Bodha, you may not make any sense out of it. So that is why there is an assumption that Atma Bodha is studied after Tattva Bodha is studied, which we have all done. So we need not have any concern over that particular aspect. Okay. And here, the aspects or the various ideas which are then in Vedanta, in the Upanishads, they are clarified in a very simple manner through an example. Literally, almost every verse, every shloka has got one example. That is the beauty of Adi Shankaracharya. I mean, the poet Adi Shankaracharya, you can actually visualize in Atma Bodha. Tattva Bodha was a text in prose, whereas Atma Bodha is a poetic work. It's beautiful, and it is set to this Adushtup Chanda, that is the meter which is the easiest meter in all of the meters which are Vedic meters rather. It's a very easy meter. And Shankaracharya comes out brilliantly in presenting. Of course, Shankaracharya, he comes out, every work of his is brilliant. Why Atma Bodha? But here, he comes out brilliantly in presenting this in a poetic form with an example, with a very appropriate example for us to understand what these aspects mean, how we have to, how we can relate it to our day-to-day experiences, and then understand these concepts of this Vedanta, right? So every idea of Vedanta has been explained with an example. So one can understand the entire Vedanta through examples. And Acharyas say that if you actually memorize Atma Bodha, and it is easy to memorize because it is in Padya form, not in Gadya form. It is in a poetic form. Poetic form is used for what? For purposes of memorizing only, right? So if that is memorized, it will be very useful, because any idea that needs to be clarified, a very short and a pithy sloka will come to your help rather, to clarify. And you can contrast this with another work of Adi Shankaracharya, Viveka Chudamani. In fact, Viveka Chudamani has got about 550 odd verses rather. It's also an excellent work. But there are certain what you call Vishama Vrittis, which are not in line with the other meters, different meters he has used. So, and some of those are all look like prose only rather. Few slokas will look like prose only. It's not possible to memorize the entire Viveka Chudamani, because there's a lot of difference in meters and all. One needs to work very hard for it. But that is not the case with Atma Bodha. It is, easy to memorize and commit to memory rather. So this is the another feature of this Atma Bodha, beauty of this Atma Bodha. And this Atma Bodha contains totally 68 slokas. And as I said, all of them are in Anushtup Chanda, Anushtup meter. And the fundamentals of Vedanta are expounded in a very simple language, supported by good examples. And then for those who have studied Tattva Bodha, this is a reminder, refresher for them to refresh all the learning which they have got from Tattva Bodha study. And they can pursue the next stage towards pursuit of spirituality or Vedanta, right? Now, before we enter the text, proper text, one second. We need to understand the title of this text, which is Atma Bodha. Sorry. Now, all of you will recollect what we studied. What is Atma? Atma means the Swarupam, or the very nature of everyone, or in fact, why everyone, everything. The innermost aspect of everything is Atma. As I told you, Atma has got two meanings. Atma means the self, and also the innermost aspect of everything. This is the word Atma. And so it literally means Swarupam, the content or the essence of everything. That is the Atma. Just like, Mrid, the clay, is the content of the pots, or all the pottery made out of clay. The content, common content of all the pottery is clay. Similarly, the content of all the ornaments is gold. Similarly, the content of all this wave and ocean, everything is what? Water. Similarly, the inner essence or the content of everything in this universe is this Atma. At the individual level, we call it Atma. The same thing at the samashti level, which is at the total level, we call it Brahman. That is only the name difference is there. Otherwise, both mean the same thing. Atma means inner essence. Brahman is the inner essence of this entire universe. That is the only difference between Atma and Brahman, right? The difference in the nomenclature, right? And this word Atma is actually derived from different roots. Now, since you have all been Sanskrit students, I can venture to explain some Sanskrit aspects of the derivation of this word Atma. I'm sure that with your background, you will be able to enjoy this. It is technical, it is intellectual exercise, but when you say the word Atma, you must understand why the meaning is given as an inner essence. And that we can derive from looking at this word Atma from four different angles. And there is a very beautiful sloka for that, which defines all the four roots. The shloka is Yachapnoti Yada Datte Yachati Vishayaniha Yachasya Santato Bhavaha Tasmad Atmeti Kirtyate. You understood the meanings? Yeah? Yat cha apnoti. So, I will come to the individual word meanings later after a brief introduction. So, the word Atma here in this sloka says it is derived from four different roots. That's why it says Atmeti Kirtyate. Right? The first root is Ap. Apnoti iti Atma. That is the first root. It is that essence which pervades everyone, everything. Going back to the clay example, the clay pervades all pots as their essence. Atma, similarly, Atma is that which pervades everyone. Yat sarvam apnoti. Apnoti means to pervade, right? So that is the first one from the root ap, dhatu ap, apnoti, that which pervades everything, everyone. The second one is yat adatte. Adatte means that which resolves everything unto itself. Basically, adatte means devours, swallows, right? The dhatu is adha, right? That is the dhatu. So to take unto or to swallow, that all the to resolve, to absorb, all these meanings will come in for this adha dhatu, right? So it is the resolver. Atma is the resolver, like all pots resolve into clay, all ornaments resolve into the gold, all forms of water finally resolve into the water, like ocean dissolves into water, and the bubbles resolve into water, waves resolve into water. Similarly, everything in this universe resolves into Atma. Finally, that is the ultimate resolvent, right? Everything resolves into that. So, yat adatte, that in which everything is resolved. And at the time of pralayam, that's what happens, rather, right? Everything goes from the manifest form to the unmanifest form, and it then gets resolved in this totality Brahman, because Brahman is ever existing, right? So that is there. Brahman and Maya are existing forever. So this resolution, yat adatte, is the second derivation of the root. The third one, atti iti atma. This is the third derivation. Adbhakshane. Adbhakshane means to eat. Eat means here we have to take it as to experience. So this Atma is that essence, that Chaitanyam, which experiences everything. Whenever we say that our eyes are seeing something, our ears are hearing something, nose is smelling something, what is behind all those experiences, what is behind the functioning of all those sense organs, is this Atma, isn't it? And we have seen this in detail in Kathopanishad, rather, all these ideas have been seen in Kathopanishad. So the Atma is the essence which makes everything possible. That is why in a dead body, when the Jivatma has walked out, nothing is possible. A dead body cannot smell anything, can't hear anything. So as long as the Atma, the Jivatma is there, it is getting, that is the main Atma is getting reflected in this body-mind complex. All these things are working and giving us different experiences. So that which helps or that which experiences everything is this Atma. So iti atti iti Atma. This is the third one, right? And if you all can recall this mantra, yena rupam rasam gandham shabdan sparshanscha maitunan etaineva vijanati kimatra parishishyate. You couldn't recognize? Maybe you have, but I didn't say it in the tune that we used to say. Yena ruparasam gandham shabdan sparshanscha maitunan etenaiva vijanati kimatra parishishyate. Okay, you all know it is from Kathopanishad. At least that much I hope you remember. But you may not know in which Valli it came. Okay, but that's not subject matter. So this one, Yat Atti, means that which experiences the Rupam, Rasam, Gandham, Shabdhan, Sparshan. All these five, Bhoktru Rupena, as an experiencer, that is Atma. And same idea is given in Bhagavad Gita also, Upadrashtatu Upadrashtanumanta cha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwara hai. Same idea Bhagavad Gita also gives. Though the spirit which is indwelling in this body, the essence which is indwelling in this body is the same as the Supreme Lord, as Parameshwara, Paramatma. That is what the Bhagavad Gita mantra says. So the third meaning of this word Atma is what? Experiencer. We can call it the Sakshi Chaitanya. The experiencer here means we must not take it literally, because Atma is Nirguna. So Atma directly cannot experience anything, but being a Sakshi Chaitanyam, being the witnesses of all experiences, it is actually said to be a experience. This idea also we saw in Kathopanishad, right? So the first one is a pervader, apnoti. The second one is a resolver, adatte. Third one is atti, the experience. These are the three different roots from which this word Atma is derived. Very interesting. Only Sanskrit, all this world smithering, what is called world smithria, whatever you call it, is possible rather. Right? One word derived from different roots and giving the actual description of that particular word from different angles. Beautiful, Sanskrit. And the fourth one is derived from at, dhatu at. At is sahatya gamane, that which exists forever. Right? Santato bhava, it is said. Satatam asti, you can say. Sada asti. You're all, you must all be able to start relating to this. Because in Tattva Bodha, one aspect is, and of course this I must give the entire credit to my Guru Swami Paramathananda. His talks on this Atma Bodha is full of lot of Sanskrit words. I think he did that deliberately because he wanted people to sort of start understanding things in Sanskrit rather than in English. Of course, it's not possible straight away, but in between, interspersing and all. And many of the Sanskrit expressions which I will be using, let me be very, clear. I have straight away borrowed from Swami Paramatmananda's talks, right? Because even I don't claim to know that much Sanskrit as Swami Paramatmananda knows. So, but then it's very nice. When I actually go through it, I enjoy it. So I thought, let me share my pleasure with all of you. So many of these words you come across, you will all you remember Swami Paramathananda, mentally rather. You should thank him for such wonderful talks on Atma Bodha, right? So Sada Asti, and this talks about the existence. Previous one talks about consciousness, and here Sada Asti talks about existence, the existence swarupam of Atma, right? So just we will take the example of this pot, clay, and gold and all that. When the pot is gone, the clay is. When the ornaments are gone, gold is. When all these waves are gone, waves and the ocean is gone, water is. That easiness of everything is this Atma, its essence. So the fourth meaning is talking about existence, pure existence principle. One is that all the objects in this world exist, but all the objects are what? Anatma. They don't have the, the power to exist on their own. They have to borrow their existence from somewhere else for them to be known as is, for them to exist. And that borrowal they do from the Atma. And that is why even though the table is Jadam, this book is a Jadam, we say the book is, the table is, because they also have borrowed the existence from Atma only. So this is the fourth meaning, which is pure existence. So Chaitanyam we have covered, the Chaitanya Swarupa, the awareness, consciousness is Atma, existence is Atma. That in which everything gets resolved is Atma, and that which experiences everything in this world is Atma. So these are the four meanings of the word Atma. So what we have seen, Atma is existence principle, consciousness principle, the resolving principle, and also the experiencing principle. This is the four definitions we have seen for Atma. Now, when you come to consciousness aspect of it, that is the chit aspect of it, right? We say Sat, Chit, and Ananda. And while studying Kathopanishad, we have seen a reference of this, how this Sat, Chit, and Ananda are actually explained in Taittiriya Upanishad. There, the words used are Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma, right? Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma, Taittiriya Upanishad. So, the Sat, Chit, and Ananda equivalent are Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. Chit means consciousness. And for the Chit, Taittiriya Upanishad uses the word Jnanam. Jnanam means knowledge. So, which means what? Chit, consciousness, means knowledge. Isn't it? We can easily form this equation. Chit is equal to Jnanam. Jnanam is equal to knowledge. Atma is equal to Chit. So, Atma is equal to knowledge. So, one meaning of this word Atma, if we take the meaning of consciousness, Chit, it means knowledge. This much is understood. Atma also means knowledge, because the word consciousness is knowledge. means knowledge. Now the second word is Bodha, isn't it? Bodha means what? Bodha also means knowledge. So, question could be, if Atma also is Chaitanya, which is knowledge or awareness, and Bodha also is knowledge, therefore awareness. So, Atma Bodha would mean awareness, awareness, or knowledge, knowledge. How can that any book or any text or any work can have this title, knowledge, knowledge, or awareness, awareness, jnanam, jnanam, right? And in Sanskrit, this is a punarukti dosha. In one way, you can call it a punarukti dosha, because the same idea should not be repeated again. Atma is Bodha Swarupam, and that is in the nature of knowledge itself. Pure knowledge is Atma. So we have to find out what is the title mean. What is the difference between Atma knowledge and Bodha knowledge? If we are able to actually decipher this in the word Atma Bodha, then we will be able to understand the title of this word Atma Bodha. We will be able to understand the difference. Why it is called Atma Bodha, or why Adi Shankaracharya prefer to call it Atma Bodha. Right? Now let us try to understand this difference by a methodology which Swami Paramathananda uses, and that is for the Atma knowledge. In the word Atma Bodha, the Atma which is Bodha Swarupam, which is Chaitanya Swarupam, for that let us say it's capital A. And the second one, which is the Bodha part of it, which is the knowledge, let us take a small letter A. So there is a capital A for the Swarupa, and there is a small letter A for the knowledge. Okay. You have to understand this little carefully. Huh? So Atma in Atma Bodha is of the nature of knowledge, the awareness, which ever is, it is eternal. It is pure knowledge. It is not objective knowledge. It is knowledge by itself. Do you understand now? Knowledge by itself, pure knowledge. Like pure consciousness, pure knowledge. And it doesn't have any objects, as I said. So it is not the knowledge of any object like a man. It is not the knowledge of a pot. It is not the knowledge of physics or chemistry or mathematics. No such objective knowledge. It is pure subjective knowledge. So it is objectless awareness, which is common in people, which is present in all living beings. And we therefore call it Swarupa Chaitanyam. Because actually later when we actually analyze how the knowledge takes place in our mind, we will analyze that. You will understand this pure consciousness and pure knowledge, the role of this pure knowledge in that process of learning anything. Even when I am speaking and you are listening and you are understanding what I am speaking, you will have to understand the role which this pure knowledge plays in this entire process. So this will come to that later. So this Atma is representing pure knowledge or Swarupa Chaitanyam, as I said. Right. Now the word Bodha, the small letter A, Atma, small Atma, refers to the second type of knowledge, which is the objective knowledge. The knowledge of an object, knowledge of a computer, knowledge of a table, knowledge of a clock, knowledge of a book, objective knowledge, which is not pure knowledge. So it's a knowledge of something. Anything it can be done, even the subjects and all that kind of thing, right? So the previous one was objectless knowledge. The second one is objective knowledge. And whenever you say, I know, a person will say, what do you know? You will say, I know English, I know German, but I don't know Chinese, for example. This objective knowledge is always a Janya Jnana. It is a born knowledge. It is not eternal knowledge. Because the Swarupa Jnanam is always there in the people. It is eternal. Because Atma Chaitanyam is eternal. So the Swarupa Jnanam is always there. Whereas this knowledge, the second type of knowledge, objective knowledge, is not eternal. It has a beginning and it has an end. Right? It is born whenever we learn something. For example, let us say English language is not there from beginningless times. Is it there? No. It is not there. English knowledge is not there. Sometime during the thing that English came into being and the knowledge of English started spreading that. So the English knowledge has an origin when one started studying English. You take the individual itself. For me, English knowledge started maybe at the fifth standard or whenever I came to middle school or something like that. So it's a beginning. Similarly, the knowledge of the color was born when one operated the means, that is the eyes, the means of knowledge. So when you could see something, you got the knowledge of the color. Then you gave it a name. This is blue color, this is red color, this is green color, right? You gave it the name in English and Tamil, they will give different words, use different words. In Hindi, they will use different words. So the colors were all given by you, by the human beings to identify the differences. So this is the second type of knowledge, which is objective knowledge, which has got a date of birth, a beginning rather. So one is unborn knowledge, which is Swarupa Jnanam, and another is born knowledge, which is what you can call Janya Jnana. So now you understand the difference between two types of knowledge. See, why I am giving you all this thing is, when you come to Vedanta, this is the kind of analysis you have to do. You have to go deep into a particular thing, not accept anything on the face of it. No way. Just because the Guru has said something or Upanishad says something, you should not swallow it. Oh, Atma Bodha, Shankaracharya has given the name. There must be some good reason why he gave it Atma Bodha, even though I don't understand. That is not a Vedanta spirit. Vedanta spirit is why Shankaracharya gave this name. Understand that. Shankaracharya will never do without a purpose. And Shankaracharya you cannot challenge also. So the only way left for you is to understand what he is trying to say by this word, Atma Bodha. So this is how the two types of knowledge are differentiated. One is Swarupa Jnanam, another is Janya Jnanam. These two ways they are identified. Right. So that is one is a pure knowledge, another is the objective knowledge, knowledge of the objects. And this is how, but the question will be how this objective knowledge is born. Right? This will be a question. Now, as I told you a little earlier, this analysis goes further. We have to understand when we see an object and the knowledge of that object is formed, we get the knowledge of that object. What is the process that happens in our antakaranam for this knowledge to be born? Everything which has to be born has to go through a process, isn't it? Without a process, nothing can be born. So, what is that process? Further analysis is done. What is that process? And we have, we have to use a proper means of knowledge, what we call the pramana, an instrument we have to use for the purpose of gaining this knowledge. And a pramanam is, we have seen this definition, pramanam is the means or instrument of gaining the knowledge. Prameyam is the object, the image of that particular object. And when that prameyam enters through our eyes and ears or nose or anything and goes into our mind, a vritti is formed. You have to understand this very, very subtly. Huh? The process of gaining knowledge. How do we gain knowledge? So, for example, when I am seeing this laptop is an object, a rupam, a form, which is actually being captured by my eyes. And through this faculty of sight, it goes and registered in my mind. And when it registers in my mind, there is a akara, a vritti of this laptop formed in my mind. Just like, in the projection, there is a, when you project something onto a screen, that thing gets projected. Like that, this particular laptop gets, a vritti, it forms a vritti in my mind. Now, the question is, the vritti is born because my eyes have seen and gone and registered in the mind. And what is a vritti? It is nothing but a thought in the mind that I am seeing something. I don't even know the name of that, right? Unless somebody tells me it's called a laptop. When I see a thing for the first time, I see a thing, I see the object, it goes and registered in my mind, a vritti is formed or a thought is formed. And that thought is relevant to this object. So when I actually see this object as a laptop, the thought which is formed is that of a laptop, not of something else, some clock or something. It is this laptop thought, laptop vritti which is formed in my mind. For example, when you see a pot, ghataha, which is the object of your perception, the thought or the vritti which is formed is called a ghatakara vritti. Ghata akara vritti, ghatakara vritti. Or if you see a cloth, patah, a piece of cloth, the vritti which will be formed in your mind is called a patakara vritti, or the object, the vritti of or thought of a shape or the cloth. So, tattat vishaya akara vritti jayate. That whatever you see, that particular form, a thought relating to that particular form is formed in your mind. Right? Now, when that thought is being formed, the Swarupa Chaitanya, which is present in your body, inside you, as the innermost essence of you, that pervades that thought. And when the Swarupa Chaitanyam pervades that thought gets fully registered. That knowledge of that particular object happens. Till such time, The Swarupa Chaitanyam does not pervade it, it is Jadam. That vritti is Jadam. The moment the Swarupa Chaitanyam pervades it, it becomes a live knowledge for you. I hope you are following this. It's a, when you go to Atma Bodha, come to Atma Bodha, you are now little senior students. So you must understand the way this analysis is done in Vedanta. Because Sarupa Chaitanyam is all pervading. And when I am telling you that first the thought is formed and Swarupa Chaitanyam pervades it and all, there is no time gap. It's only for the purposes of explaining, like this I am saying. But the moment this vritti is formed, Swarupa Chaitanyam actually pervades the whole thing. It's just waiting to pervade. Because it is not waiting, it is there always. So you can't escape, you can't have a vritti without Swarupa Chaitanyam pervading it. In fact, because the Swarupa Chaitanyam pervades it, you know there is a vritti, there is a thought, isn't it? That knowledge that there is a thought is because of the Swarupa Chaitanyam pervading it. So, this is how this vritti is formed and it becomes knowledge. Rather, it becomes a objective knowledge. Knowledge of a laptop, knowledge of a ghata, knowledge of a pata, or knowledge of anything for that matter. Right? So, this formless awareness, which is our Swarupa Chaitanyam, which is there in us, that by pervading the formed thought in the form of a shape of a particular object, becomes formed awareness. Formless awareness becomes formed awareness, as by pervading, the Swarupa Chaitanyam takes the shape of that form of which the vritti is formed. So, the Nirakara vritti pervades the Ghatakara vritti, and the Chaitanyam now appears as Ghatakara Chaitanyam. And this Ghatakara Chaitanyam is called Ghatagyanam. Right? And this Ghatagyanam or Ghatakara Chaitanyam is born only when the Ghata vritti is born. So, therefore, we call it as vritti jnanam. So, the objective knowledge is called janya jnanam or vritti jnanam, and the objectless knowledge is called swarupa jnanam, the original consciousness, or ajanya jnanam. That is what it is called. Okay. So, these are all little involved discussions, but it's a good training how we have to proceed in Vedanta by analyzing, everything in its in-depth analysis we have to make. And certainly, knowledge of Sanskrit gives us a great help in this. So we will stop here today and continue on Friday. Next class is on Friday. Okay. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you all who are all there today. Okay, who is Ramaswamy XR? Oh, I'm logged in from here also. Okay, I didn't know that. I logged from my mobile also. By mistake. Okay. Good. Thank you all. Any questions are there?
இந்த ஆத்மாவோட டெஃபினிஷன்ல
இல்ல, I can't hear you. உங்களை கொஞ்சம்
ஆத்மாவோட டெஃபினிஷன்ல
இல்ல, காது கேட்கல மாமா. நீங்க இன்னும் கொஞ்சம் பக்கத்துல பேசணும் உங்களோட இல்ல.
ஆத்மாவோட டெஃபினிஷன் சொன்னேன் இல்லையா?
ஆமா.
ஆப்னோதி இது ஆத்மாவா இல்லை ஆத்னோதியா?
ஆப்னோதி, ஆப் धातु. Apnoti.
To obtain.
Apnoti is to pervade also is their meaning.
Okay. அதுதான் டவுட்.
Ap is to pervade also. Obtain, pervade எல்லாம் நிறைய மீனிங். தாத்துனாம் no, what they call lot of
Bahu arthaha bhavanti.
a lot of meanings are there. So apnoti is yachapnoti is that which pervades.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Namaskar.
Any other doubt, question? Otherwise, we can close. Okay. So we can close there. We'll meet on Friday. Hari Om. Thank you very much.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
हरि ओम धन्यवाद
धन्यवाद है. Hari Om.
धन्यवादः.
Was it okay or what is too much? Radha ji. Question, I will ask a question.
The Raghu Ganapathy engiradhu unga sanna.
Enadhu Raghu Ganapathy?
Your son or your
no, I am Raghu Ganapathy.
Ramaswamy nu varudhe.
No, Ramaswamy is my father's name. So my total official name is Ramaswamy Ganapathy. But I am known as Raghu in my home.
Okay.
I have actually taken both the names Raghu and Ganapathy, put it together and then made my identity as Raghu Ganapathy. So that many people know me by Raghu and many people know me as Ganapathy. So avalta Raghu solitra ivalukku puriyadu ivalta Ganapathy sonna avalukku puriyadu. So ellarukku puriyatume solittu Raghu Ganapathy nu peru vechu.
Ungaloda WhatsApp la Ramaswamy nu varudhe.
அது வந்து நான் வந்து because வாட்ஸ்அப்ல ரெஜிஸ்டர் பண்றப்போ இந்த ஆதார் கார்டு எல்லாம் கொடுக்கணும் இல்லையா அந்த இதுக்கு. அப்ப அதுல வந்து ஒரிஜினல் நேம் வாட் இஸ் தேர் இன் ஆதார் கார்டு ஐ ஹேவ் டு கிவ். ஐ cannot give my own self named name. அதான் ஆதார் கார்டு இந்த டெலிபோன் அதெல்லாம் I have to give the name which is there in all my certificates and all my documents. Yeah.
Okay.
That is why. Anyhow. நான் ராதாஜி எங்க போயிட்டா நான் கேள்வி கேட்கறேன்னு சொல்லிட்டு ஓடி போயிட்டா.
வேதாந்தா கேக்குறதா?
கேக்குறது. யாரு இது?
ராஜகோபால்.
சொல்லுடா சொல்லு.
இது வேதா இஸ் கால்ட் ஸ்மிருதி இல்ல ஸ்ருதி.
ஸ்ருதி.
அதர் these are called ஸ்மிருதி. Next line of the
Bhagavad Gita and all.
Bhagavad Gita and all. This Atma Bodha will it come under Smriti, Smriti or
it will come under Smriti only. It will come under Smriti as a because you see Smritis are what? Smritis are works of human beings based upon the teachings of the Vedas.
Ama.
Remembered texts solva Smriti. So Smriti will all come, this Atma Bodha, Tattva Bodha will all come under Smriti category. But they are prakarana granthas because they deal with this in a very simple manner. They are not sufficient by themselves for moksha purushartha.
Right.
Unless you go through Sravana Manana Nididhyasanam process and all. That is why. But they are right. I mean, they come under Smriti granthas only.
And it is most related to the existing time. That is the current. Maybe
exactly. I mean, you can say not necessarily existing times because even at the time of Adi Shankaracharya, when he wrote this, he must have felt there is a need for this, right? So it is there. I mean, it is like, for us, whenever we start studying, like for example, Sanskrit language, we don't straight away go to Panini Sutras, right? We study from small text, some usages, then we will ultimately end up in the Ashtadhyayi and all. Adhe madri this also it's slowly progress. When after you finish Atma Bodha, maybe when you learn Viveka Chudamani, that will make more sense.
Yeah.
Otherwise, straight away Viveka Chudamani padchano yarku onnume puriyade. So you won't know. When you talk about aspects like Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya and all that, what do you say? What are you talking about Jagan Mithya and all? What do you mean by Mithya? So in the concept allam puriyadu yaru. Adala stage by stage we have to study this. That is what Swami Paramatmananda says. Systematic continuous study for a long time. Every time he says that. Vedanta is systematic study, continuous study for a good length of time. You cannot do Vedanta 3-month crash course and all that.
Under the guidance of a proper guru.
And under the guidance of a proper guru. Yes, that is also a very important aspect of it. Under the guidance of a proper guru.
Dvaita guru பண்ணா அத்வைத்தம் கண்டுபிடிக்க
ஆமா,
முடியாது.
துவைத்த குருட்ட போயிட்டு அத்வைத்தத்தை பத்தி கேட்டேன்னா துரத்தி விட்டுருவாரு. He will confuse you more. And in fact, this Dvaitam, Advaitam, and the Dvaitam, Visishta Advaitam, Advaitam are all, they're all stages of spiritual growth only. We just have to understand that. That's all. Like Swamiji says that, you start with Ekarupa Bhakti.
Correct.
Then you actually graduate to Vishwarupa Bhakti. Then you graduate to Arupa Bhakti. So similarly, when you are talking about Ekarupa Bhakti, it is Dvaitam you are talking about. And then when you are talking about Vishwarupa Bhakti, in one way you are bringing in the Angi Anga Bhavaha, which is what basically the Vishishta Advaita talks about. And then eventually you end up with Arupa Bhakti, the formless Bhakti rather, formless devotion, which is Advaita. So other things are not irrelevant, but that is the process or the path through which a spiritual seeker progresses. So one cannot start straight away from formless bhakti because our human intellect will not be able to conceive formlessness. It can conceive only forms. அதுதான் அவளோட issue. அவ அங்கே நின்னுட்டா because they are not able to conceive what is formless. So all those things are there. A big discussion is there. Anyhow, we'll continue in the next class. Okay. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.